Cummings. No worries, this is not the podcast where suddenly we only have material for PG-18 or rated R. I'm of course talking about Dominic Cummings, and you may or may not have heard that something happened in the recent past. He is accused of breaking the rules for quarantining after having signs or symptoms of COVID-19, the coronavirus. He's accused of going up to 30 miles away from the place where he lives to a tourist town, and one newspaper even claims, depending on if you refer to the Daily Mirror or the Observer, that he even has done it twice in different cases. This is not a politics podcast here. This is not about politics, and this is not about the Conservative Party. It is about rules in the corporate world. As soon as we see that rules are set, often the problems begin, and most of these rules cause problems because the rules are either incoherent, inconsistent, or they are applied in the wrong way. And I just give you a couple of examples from real-world practice before we get to the very specific advice of how you implement these rules properly in your organization. I just give you an example from my own experience when I started to be part of the working world. Of course, everyone during the first time where I started working expected that I am a master of Microsoft Office, and the reasoning for that was, you're young, you must be able to do that. And of course you can claim that still when we look, and my training career started in the IT background, with an IT background, you could of course claim young people have more connection to tech. Still, claiming that just because they have a bit more connection because they are digital natives, that they are better dealing with, for example, the Microsoft Office suite, that, of course, is quite far-fetched. I remember vividly when we had training courses for younger people that they were very smart about the internet, for example, but as soon as we opened Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, not really much happened because these were not programs people were interested in. They learned a bit quicker, but still, they simply didn't have the skills. And that's normal because you have to train your people. And as soon as you assume someone must be able to do it, of course, younger people, and I belong to that generation where many people claimed, oh, they deal a bit differently with authorities. Yes, we do. Because we simply do not accept, just because someone has a certain title, that we have to take them more serious than others. I'll just give you an example. When we had participants list where we all had to put our names in, I put my name in there and others did as well. And of course, when you work with Microsoft Excel, there are two different columns. One is first name, the other one is last name. Very simple. So you put in your first name. When you don't have a clue about Microsoft Excel, you push the arrow to the right. When you also don't have a clue, after the first name, you push the enter key, which means that your marker goes down and you have to click up again. If you have a clue of Microsoft Excel, you push the tab key, put in your last name, then push enter. And as soon as you press enter, the marker you have, the cell marker, suddenly goes back to the first row where you started typing. If you didn't know that, free IT tip of the day. So what I saw there was that my boss was a senior manager of that company where I work, and that was a large corporation. He put in his first name and then put in as many blanks as he could put in until, from his optical point of view, let's put it that way, he is in the column of putting in the last name. That, of course, made the round in the whole department and went from the department to the whole building. And from the building, it went to other locations in the same company, that we have people who are in charge of significant amounts of business claim we should all be able to do this with, of course, without any training spent on us, and at the same time isn't able to do the most easiest jobs in Microsoft Excel. That only undermines your authority, but also people will think, why is that person in charge? And of course you could now claim, well, no leader does have to know absolutely everything. That's correct, but at least you shouldn't claim that you do, and you shouldn't put your point of view on others when you're not even remotely connected to reality. And I give you an example for this. Just go to your sales team and ask them, hey, when you visit a client soon, one of the senior leaders wants to join you. Are you okay with that? And their answer, when they're honest, will be absolutely not. And of course, many leaders will claim, oh, they don't like to be controlled. That's not the main reason. The main reason is because as soon as they show up with their senior leader at the client side, nothing works as it normally would. The presentation doesn't go the same way. They jump to conclusions which are not correct. They interrupt their sales team. They might offer even wrong deals or go in with a discount, which no proper salesperson would ever do in the first place. Everything will go wrong from there. And that is quite typical. people expect you to be able to present, and of course I have to state that when it comes to presentation, many people receive training. I think per year I probably have 30 or 40 different training sessions on that topic, so feel free to contact me if you have any kind of wish in that area. But as soon as it comes to putting this into practice, you immediately see who is able to stick to certain rules, which means how to run a client discussion properly, and who simply shows up because they think they're the leadership team and they can do whatever they want. Just to give you some more examples before we come to the point how to set rules properly, time management. Maybe you know that most of your leaders will claim that you should be perfectly able to structure your time. The same leaders set up the Monday morning meeting, which should go from 10 to 11. It normally starts 10:15 because people are never on time. Sorry, I'm German. Obviously, no one except German and Swiss people are on time. I have no idea why. I still wonder, if you look on your watch, just answer me one question when you're a native English speaker. Where on your watch is ish? Like 10-ish. That doesn't exist. I know that we are Germans and we are known for having no humor, but 10-ish simply doesn't exist. And when it comes to time management, I just stopped counting the amounts of meetings where it said, we're going to meet at 10 a.m. and you are there at 9:55. Germans are always there 5 minutes early. That's the German culture. No one at 10 is there. Then you sit there. 10:15 you can begin. Of course, you can't make it until 11. So the meetings always run over time. That's not time management. And you cannot claim from others to have it while at the same time you're unable to deliver it by yourself. It's a bit like the claim from senior leadership where they always say, oh, you have to work hard to make a career. I worked hard and you have to stick to my rules because that's what brought me into this position. Do you think I would be here if I wouldn't have worked hard? And of course, as soon as people give answers which you do not like, the reactions are suddenly quite strange. So first, starting from your own position, to assume everyone wants to have what you have is plain wrong and is a very poor show of leadership. Second, as soon as you tell people what to do without giving reasoning how you got into this position, but just claim it's hard work, which is a quite general statement, people will start to question. And as soon as they say, oh, is it possible that you have like an old boys network, or that you come from a private university which your family paid for? Suddenly, the reactions are very strange and people immediately feel offended or even attacked. Unfortunately, it's unambiguously clear that certain networks bring you into a certain position. It was just your claim that was wrong. And the same, of course, applies to, let's say, the travel guidelines you have in your organization. People say, oh, you only can fly economy class, you can only book a 3-star hotel, or you can only book hotels up to £80 per night, etc., etc. And immediately people find out that suddenly people who are in a certain leadership area are allowed to book whatever they want, 4-star hotel, 5-star hotel, business class flights, etc., etc. And of course you try to put everything into rules, and Germans are best at that. They invented it, which doesn't mean that it always goes right. I give you a really weird example. At the moment where we have the COVID-19 crisis, coronavirus, of course we have different rules how to deal with retail and how to deal with restaurants, and one of these rules is how to deal with ice cream stores. Of course, ice cream stores most likely are not crucial for the economy, but of course they are enjoyable, and of course you should tell people how to deal with it. Giving a guideline most likely will do. Not in Germany. Of course, we must have a proper guideline in writing, and I am now telling you how the ice cream guideline in Lower Saxony, which is northwestern Germany, looks like. I'm not making this up now, and don't be surprised. Germans, especially when you translate it literally word by word, Germans say they lick ice cream, they don't eat ice cream. They also don't have ice scoops, they have ice balls, which I'm not going to say again on this podcast because it is inappropriate, so I'm going to tell you the right word. But here we go. This is an official statement from Lower Saxony how to deal with ice cream. That means someone sat down, being paid as a public official, to write this, and it went through different departments' hands, and different eyes looked on it to double and triple and quadruple check it. Here we go. The application of the regulation can be pragmatic in that the first quick licking of an ice scoop while quickly moving away from the ice cream parlor can prevent the ice cream from dripping onto clothing or the floor. However, the distance of 50 meters applies to the consumption of the rest of the ice cream. So you really must be very tactical when you do the first quick lick on your ice cream, because there's only one lick allowed. The second one already must be 50 meters away. Of course, without dropping your eyes, without having anything on your clothes or your feet or the ground, and at the same time sticking to the law or either offending it without knowing. So the reason why Germans are known for having no humor is because we don't. That is the sad truth. There's a reason why I now live somewhere else. And now, of course, we have to say, how do you set rules properly? So step number one, rules must be properly announced. So properly announced means don't send this way too long email to everyone and expect that they read it. They won't. There are more modern means. For example, you present it properly during a weekly meeting, or you present it during an annual meeting when you have your annual meeting of the sales team or whatever it is. But you have to present it in a way that people understand and that's step number two, reasoning. Why do you put this rule into place? I give you an example. When you, for example, say, during Christmas we normally gave generous gifts to our clients, and we realized that these gifts sometimes got misunderstood and influenced the way how they deal with us, so people could perceive it as bribery. That's the most polite way I can put it, because we all know what happened in certain industries in the past. As soon as you give a reasoning, people will understand the rule. And now here's step three. As soon as you have any kind of exceptions, you have to give them the reason why there is an exception. I give you an example how it could work. When you, for example, say, we have a senior salesperson who might fly from London to the United States, 6 a.m. flight. That means you arrive in London normally about 10, 11 a.m. in the morning, sometimes even earlier, depending how well the flight goes. And normally 2 or 3 hours later, they have to be spot on presenting in Manhattan, and the deal is about £10 million. No one will have a problem when they fly business class instead of economy class. When you tell them, we have economy class guidelines, but as soon as you're on XYZ position, that doesn't apply to you without any further reason, then people simply start to question what kind of closed network again gave themselves a bit of an advantage just to make their life a bit more comfortable, while at the same time cutting costs at any other aspect of the business. So be very sure to give proper reasoning. And when you now say, how do I apply this? It is very important that, of course, you have to stick to legal circumstances. You have to talk to the compliance department, but you have to make it as practical as possible. As soon as you say, oh, sorry, we are a large corporate. Oh, sorry, we are a larger organization, and there is no way to get around it. We have to do it that theoretical and that unpractical. I can simply tell you, the main rule why people leave your organization is not because they are dissatisfied with something of their job. People don't leave organizations. People leave people. And that means when people who were with you for a very long time but suddenly leave, although they were in a very safe position, and also it often in many countries entitles them for a generous amount of money as soon as they want to leave, especially when you want to make them go against their will. When these people leave your organization, it is a very clear feedback that your leadership work is horrible on a very low level. And of course, I'm here to help. I'm happy to talk with you. Just drop me an email. We can get into discussions here, and then we just take it from there. Now, of course, I can only say I wish you all the best when implementing this in your organization. And for today, I can only say thank you very much for your time.